you were imagining the kind of player that would be a perfect fit for the Thunder to add to its talented young core, it would probably look something like a young 7'1" rebounding machine with versatility and skill that plays with physicality and toughness, from Eugene, Oregon, that was drafted 43rd overall in 2017 and started his career as a 15-year-old with the Artland Dragons.
That's oddly specific.
It turns out that's exactly what they got. The Thunder signed free agent Isaiah Hartenstein, a 26-year-old that was drafted by the Rockets in 2017 in the second round, and has made his journey to the NBA through various overseas stops, then the G League, then half a season with the Nuggets backing up Nikola Jokic, then traded to the Cavs for JaVale McGee, then signed with the Clippers, then signed with the Knicks in 2022, where he eventually really made his place as a top-tier role player.
Down low, inside, oh, blocked by Hartenstein! Rejects it out of bounds.
It's the biggest free agent signing in OKC history, not counting Paul George, who was re-signing, technically. Before this, Patrick Patterson was the most significant signing the Thunder had, and before that, it was Nenad Krstić. The Thunder have only ever outright signed 6 off-season free agents. I'm not counting buyout players like Caron Butler and Derek Fisher, by the way. That's Patterson, Mike Muscala, Hashim Thabit, Kevin Ollie, Nerlens Noel, and Anthony Morrow. It's not some big NBA secret that OKC is not a free agent destination and has never really been a roster-building option for the team. But that mainly goes for the top-of-the-line star-level free agents. They go to the big markets, but also the Thunder have never really had true cap space synced up with a really good team that is attractive for free agents to join. You're saying, what about the Durant-Westbrook years? Well, the cap and collective bargaining agreement in those seasons were much different. And this time around, with those elements, plus some very strategic long-term planning, the Thunder had around $35 million in cap space, coming off a season where they just won 57 games and finished atop the Western Conference. A stars aligning kind of moment for OKC to actually be a player in free agency.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
And if you've forgotten, that $35 million in cap space was generated through the midseason deal that brought Gordon Hayward to OKC. At the time, that move was viewed as one to try to bolster a surging playoff team with a veteran scorer and playmaker with some postseason experience, but it also had the other tentacle of being a major cap-clearing deal. So in a roundabout way, the Thunder traded Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, and Vasilije Micic for Isaiah Hartenstein.
How about you, Udovich? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
So, what does the trade do for OKC? Well, a big, yes, big talking point about the Thunder all last season was the rebounding. For the first half of the season, they ranked dead last in defensive rebound percentage, and they never shied away from acknowledging they needed to be better at it. And in the second half of the year, they quietly were 10th in the NBA in defensive rebounding, doing what they've done in so many other areas: develop and improve.
This is good, we're learning stuff.
The Thunder liked their style of 5-out last season a lot, but they also aren't stubborn. Presti said this after the season.
We'd love to get better at everything, and we're not like trying to prove anybody wrong by being a bad rebounding team and being good. You know, we're trying to just be good. And if there's another way to do that, we're open to that. We're not resisting that. And that could be an outside acquisition. But, you know, we're going to look at all those channels.
And as Presti also said, rebounding was the least surprising challenge the Thunder faced in their loss to the Mavericks. The surprising thing was that the offense slowed down and the team missed open shots. But the Thunder are trying to find the best ways to win, and to do it by plugging holes that need plugged without creating others elsewhere. Hartenstein isn't a magic solution that will suddenly elevate the Thunder to the top of the rebounding list. There were other root causes that led to their issues last season, like giving up the most rebounds in the league to smalls, particularly crashing in from the corner, along with having an elite rim protector like Chet that forced late rotations at the rim and left OKC often exposed on the glass. Those are still things that as a team, they need to get better at. But Hartenstein certainly is helpful, while also being well-rounded and additive in a lot of other places too. So you're wondering, will he start? Honestly, no idea. But one of the major upsides to both how the Thunder are constructed and also how Mark Daigneault approaches lineups is the flexibility. Anybody can play with anybody. Chet Holmgren started all 82 games last season at center and obviously was a nightmare matchup for a lot of opposing bigs. As Presti described at the end of the season, a lot of the reason the Thunder saw the cross-matching throughout the year, that it was really because of the problem that Chet posed. As a spacer, as a roller, as a handler, Chet can really do it all. And with the Thunder's spread offense that leans on the advantages SGA and Jaylin Williams bring as drivers, Chet's versatility and skill punctuated the attack. And the Thunder did play two bigs together some last year, with Chet and J-Will playing 92 minutes total together last season, and they were a 0.5 net in those minutes. The offense dipped 108.2 points per 100, but the defense was stellar, 107.7. They played 14 minutes together in the playoffs, and maybe most memorably, down the stretch of Game 6 against the Mavericks. Major small sample size theater stuff here, but they were a plus 33.1 in those 14 minutes. And together in the regular season, Chet and J-Will produced a defensive rebound rate at 68.9, just a small bump from the team-wide 68.3%, but there was a significant jump on the offensive glass, going from 25.3% as a team to 35.6%. The Thunder ranked 28th overall in rebound rate last season at 48.4%, but with Chet and J-Will together on the floor, that went to 53.6%, which would have ranked number 1 in the entire NBA, ahead of the Knicks, who were at 52.7%. Again, pretty small samples here. And the rebounding topic was really more about the trade-offs and upsides for turnovers and elite defense, but like Presti said, the Thunder would like to be great at everything without having to sacrifice other areas to get there. And Hartenstein is a clear solution to a lot of that. He anchored the best rebounding team in the league last season, and he is a terrific positional defender with the ability to play all over the floor and maintains offensive versatility with his passing and decision-making.
I think we can play really good together. I mean, defensively, having two of the top rim protectors on the court at the same time it's not easy. So, no, but I'm really excited. I mean, that's one thing I'm really excited to see how that goes, because he's very talented, and I think with my IQ, I'll have to do a little bit more of the dirty work so he can chill a little bit. But no, it's really exciting. I mean, to me, he's one of the most talented bigs in the NBA. So me and him being on the court together, I think it's going to be very deadly. So I'm excited about that.
Chet will obviously still play a lot of center, and J-Will is still an important piece in the rotation. The Thunder have just swapped out minutes in other places for Hartenstein to make room for a more traditional big lineup and still be able to tap into the non-traditional lineups and Chet's unicorn-ness at the 5 whenever warranted or wanted. Part of what made the Thunder a top 5 defense last season was their disruptive nature paired with elite rim protection. They forced the most turnovers in the league by a wide margin. They allowed the 7th fewest points in the paint and were number 1 in the league in opponent field goal percentage within 5 feet. And tying those things to the rebounding, as Presti said after the season, we can certainly bring that up, but I would like to try to do that without manipulating or bringing down what's really driving a top 5 defense. So, Hartenstein. He was one of 5 players in the league with at least 80 blocks and 80 steals. Opponents shot just 52.5% at the rim against him, 8th best in the league. Another great stat via Dan Devine of Yahoo Sports. Opposing teams shot 60.6% at the rim with Hartenstein on the floor, 6.4% below when he was off the floor, and 60.6 would have led the entire NBA. He was 3rd in defensive box plus minus and 2nd in defensive estimated plus minus. His instincts are really high level. Just watch these 2 plays where he cat and mouses a pick and roll to perfection, controlling the ball handler while simultaneously staying connected to the rolling big who was looking for a lob. That's just top shelf defensive feel. And if you recall, the series against the Mavericks, where Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively gave OKC some issues in the lob game, that kind of stuff would have been pretty helpful. On the offensive side, Hartenstein was a non-shooter for the Knicks. Actually, timeout. So Hartenstein was a non-shooter for the Knicks, taking only 3 threes last season. He did, though, take 37 in 2022-23, and actually hit 14 of 30 from 3 for the Clippers in the 2021-22 season. So while that hasn't really been a focal point of his game, he is capable of attempting and even hitting some threes, and that's something maybe playing an OKC system could help unlock. Okay, time back in. The Thunder haven't really played much with a non-shooting big in a lineup the last few seasons. The last one SGA really spent any time with, albeit just barely any, was Derek Favors 3 seasons ago. So that will be an adjustment to learn how to play with a little less perimeter space and more of a traditional rolling big. But Hartenstein is not some offensive minus by any means. He's got excellent feel, both as a finisher and a connector, someone you can hit in the short roll and will make quick decisions to attack or spray out to the corners. He's a hub kind of player, with dribble handoffs and back cuts off of him in the high post. The Thunder's style doesn't call for shooting only. It's all about decisions, whether to shoot, drive, or pass. And Hartenstein functions at a very high level, maybe in all 3 of those areas. And again, there will be some adjusting to having this type of player, like we saw last season with OKC having Chet as a more traditional, and I'm doing major air quotes here on traditional, big. Before last season, the Thunder led the league by a major margin in guard-guard screening, and still relied heavily on it last season, even with Chet. But Hartenstein adds another component for SGA, Dub, and others. He's a big, physical body that can really screen. Chet actually is a better screener than you might assume, but Hartenstein's sheer brute size is going to carve defenders off SGA and Dub to help create some downhill attacks. And another offensive upside. The Thunder were a top 5 offense last season, but they weren't a second chance point team. In the playoffs, they were a minus 58 in second chance points against their opponents, last of all the teams. And in the regular season, were 27th in the league at just 11.8 a game, while allowing 15.3 a game, which was 28th overall. That's a minus 3.5 in that category. But just think about one extra putback, and the Thunder go from bottom of the league to right in the middle. Make it 2 or 3 putbacks, they're at the top. So basically, Hartenstein is another top-tier role player that is additive to basically everything the Thunder need and already do. And that's after trading for Alex Caruso a month before, a player that is also additive to everything they need and do. So the Thunder entered the offseason where they were the #1 team in the West and the youngest team to ever do that. They were top in net rating in the conference and won a playoff series, also the youngest to ever do it, and battled the eventual Western Conference winner in a series that finished dead even in points after 6 games. And then they added 2 exceptionally high-level role players while also re-signing 2 of their own exceptionally high-level role players in Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, and then drafted 3 players, Nikola Topic, Dylan Jones, and AJ Mitchell, all 3 that layer in more young talent to what they already do so well. Positional size, decision-making, playmaking, passing, scoring. And those additions have all come while still maintaining the one long road ahead. There hasn't been any pushing chips in, any major future risk of going for it now. They added to the team without losing the youth of it, without giving up any critical assets. The Thunder made their young team better while still keeping the future bright. That's some good off-seasoning.